everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Unusual Suspects. I normally say, like, I'm your host, Vincent Oshana. You guys know who the hell I am. We have a fantastic, Kelly even wrote it at the top, what kind of show we're going to have here today. I'm excited about it. A lot of amazing stories. Before I run through them, let me go around and introduce all our regular unusuals. We have David Frei in the house, Viva Frei in Gaza, straight from Canada. He's going to talk about his trip really fast. Connor Wolcott is here. We ripped him away from his computer from writing stories to come join us. Rob, finally, he's wearing pants. This guy doesn't like pants. It slows him down, but today he wore what?
Yes, because I'm so quick. And I don't have pants on.
And Brandon Aceto. Brandon has a lot to talk about today. Guys, I'm going to do a quick run on the stories, and then we'll get right into it. I'm going to be talking about there was a mass shooter a couple of years ago, and his parents were just jailed. Yes, victory. Connor's going to talk about the NPR's CEO and what's going down with her. Brandon's going to talk about second industrial revolution.
Sure am.
Oh, fantastic. Viva, bonus hole surgery.
Whoa, covered by the government.
Wow. And guys, if you want to find out what bonus hole is, stay tuned. And Rob G's going to talk about Trevor Bauer's victory, which, these are just, even Kelly said it before, these are just feel-good stories where you're like, the good guy finally won and justice will prevail. It gives me some hope of humanity. Before we get into the stories, guys, if you haven't downloaded the app, Manek, get on it. It's one of the fastest growing apps on the market for talking with professionals, Cameo, whatever. So if you want to Manek me, there's the barcode. For me, if you want to talk about anything, I'm here. Who else is on there? Kelly. Rob is on there. Anything about production, videos, podcasting, stories, comedy, go to Rob. Shane is there. I don't even know why Shane's not. Shane. By the way, guys, Shane's not even here, but whatever. Brandon Aceto's there.
Whatever.
Brandon's there. But guys, also Connor Wolcott is on there if you guys want to get on Connor. And there's Kelly. Beautiful Kellyanne Arnold, production, life, spirituality. Get on there. But I'm going to mention again, yeah, Connor's on there. We don't have his barcode. But guys, there's a competition for Manek, for lightweights, middleweights, heavyweights, for home team, for regulars, for actually people that do the most Maneks. It's a competition. That's the barcode. By the way, Dave, today we're getting you on or I'm never talking to you again. So guys, scan the barcode. Get involved with the competition. The winner gets to come to Florida. You pay for your flight. You pay for your hotel. But you have dinner at one of the best restaurants here. It's called Casa D'Angelo. Dude, they have bison. They have it's the best food I've eaten since I've been in Florida. Then we're gonna come here in the cigar lounge. This is where we are right now. We shoot Unusuals. Cigars with Patrick and the crew. Dominoes, poker, whatever, guys. It's gonna be sick. So scan the barcode and guys, good luck and I hope I see you guys there. All right. First story. James and Jennifer Crumley, the parents of a teenager. His name was Ethan Crumley, who killed 4 students in 2021 in Oxford, Michigan. Each were sentenced Tuesday to 10 to 15-year prison just weeks after being convicted of manslaughter. So they're the first parents in the United States to be found criminally responsible for a school shooting committed by their child. The judge sentenced them for failing to take steps that could have prevented a runaway train. Judge Cheryl Matthews said, and I quote, "These convictions are not about poor parenting. These convictions are from repeated acts or lack of acts that could have halted an oncoming runaway train." There was no trial testimony from specialists or the shooter's state of mind, but the judge allowed the jury to see excerpts from the journal. And one of the journals said, from the son, Ethan, "I have zero help from my mental problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the effing school. I want help. My parents don't listen to me, and I can't get any help." Also, I think there's a video of them bringing the kid to the gun shop to get a gun days prior to the shooting. I'm not joking. And I'm going to go around and ask everybody, and then I'm going to give my 2 cents. David, you hear the story, you hear the punishment, you hear what's happening. What are your thoughts?
I didn't watch the trial as thoroughly as other people did, and so knowing that, I would attenuate my opinion. I'm sensitive to the underlying concept here. I can imagine certain circumstances in which there's such severe culpability of the parents for their negligence that they could or should be held responsible. For example, there was Abby Warner, another kindergarten teacher that was shot by a 6-year-old kid. Jeez. In that type of situation where you say, how does an automaton effectively as a human, a 6-year-old kid, get a gun? I can see going after the parents. In this case, they charged Ethan as an adult, and yet nonetheless try to hold the parents responsible for the acts carried out by their son as an adult. Some of the evidence, the diary and what he wrote in his diary, it's not clear the parents ever saw it. The idea that you're going to hold the parents responsible for negligent manslaughter for this chain of events, I can understand the theory in law. I'm not sure it plays out in this particular case, but this is just another front of the war on the Second Amendment, criminalizing any form of gun ownership. People are going to say, obviously, just lock it up and keep it away from your kids, and that's the obvious thing. The question there goes after that, though. At what point are parents liable for the acts of their treated as adult children?
Okay, so here's my question, though. I think in this case, it's not going, which I'm going to get into. I don't think it's necessarily going after the guns, which, I mean, they always do that, and I'll get into it. But I think, David, and this is the case that they did have this evidence. He did reach out. He was trying to tell them he was crazy.
Well, there's evidence in this case that he reached out to the school, to the guidance counselors, that the school knew what was going on. They called him into the office. They didn't search his backpack. They send him right back to class. So in as much as, let's expand culpability based on this theory of the case, go after the school. Oddly enough, in the 6-year-old kid who shot Abby Werner, they're going after the school too, but why not in this particular case? So I mean, the question is, who knew what, and what is the degree of culpability? But it seems, by all accounts, the school knew more than the parents. They had seen more evidence, and the parents, if we're going to start holding parents responsible for the criminal acts of their children who are treated like adults, that is opening a big can of worms. I'm not sure it's warranted, but I'm sensitive to the argument.
Do you think that something of this nature, like let's just say every state adopts this law, do you think this is something where the parents see this and they're like, wait a minute, I got to get more involved to see why the hell he's dressed in all black, why he looks like a freaking, like the typical cardboard cutout of a school shooter. I mean, bro, they're depressed. They're not talking to nobody. They're loners. They don't hang out with anybody. They're depressed. You could see the attitude. You're giving them all these freaking drugs for Ritalin. I don't know what drugs this kid Ethan was on, but it's like, do you think that long term, I get the negative side of it, but on the positive side, Dave, do you feel like this could be something where parents now are going to see this and be like, wait a minute, I got to get more involved with my kid?
Well, I would say if we want to see a silver lining in what might be a bad judicial precedent, it'll get parents to lock up their guns and maybe not get guns as entertainment tools for their children. Maybe that's the silver lining. But as a legal precedent, I would be apprehensive about, cheering this on.
Gotcha. What about you, Connor?
Yeah, it's a terrible situation. Obviously, 4 kids were killed. No one's trying to downplay that, but it's also a terrible verdict. It's not a good precedent to set here, and we'll, I'm sure, discuss some of the implications long term in a minute. But like Viva said, we're not ready for the can of worms this is about to open up, where you can charge parents for what their kids do. And as he said, Ethan Crumley was charged as an adult, which means they have determined that he is responsible for his own actions, which means either he is held responsible for it or his parents are. You can't really have both. But because they're, the society is obviously so angry about school shootings, they just need more people to punish. They're not happy with going after one person. They need multiple to be responsible for it.
Got you. Rob, what do you think?
I, too, am going to attenuate my opinion.
Holy
Did I use that?
shit,
Did I say that correctly,
Very
sir?
nice.
Whoa!
I have no idea what it means, but when he said it, I'm like, I'm going to write that down.
By the way,
Attenuate.
I'll bet $1,000 you didn't write the right
Oh,
word.
probably not. We far often in case like this, we're looking at we're not looking at the cause of the problem. We're looking to try and figure out how to solve the problem after the fact. Right now, okay, we're going to hold parents responsible, or these parents responsible, and could it lead to other parents being responsible? But I really believe we need to look at the cause of what's causing these children to act this way. And a few of the things that I wrote down: antidepressants, bullying, a loss of self-worth, social media, and I really believe, we've talked about this before, I feel like there's a loss of respect for human life. I think that plays into violent, and I hate, the internet's going to yell at me, oh, violent video games, violent movies don't do that. But you can look at culture and see how culture is influenced by media, how culture is influenced by video games. I see it with my own children, which is why I limit their screen time. So I don't know about this case enough to actually have. That's why I'm attenuating my opinion.
I love it. Second time.
I would like to figure out how we can stop these from happening, and it's not gun control. Unfortunately, bad guys got guns. That's what's going to happen. The bad guys already have the weapons. So if you take guns away from good people who are using them to arm themselves against people who are trying to arm that or harm them, you're just going to end up making those people sheep. They're just going to be there for the people with the guns that are bad to do bad things. So it's not gun control. I think there's a bigger issue, a societal issue that needs to be fixed here.
Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, so I saw one time after one of these school shootings that what do you imagine the cost would be to secure every school in the nation with buzz-in door and a full-time security guard that's next to military?
Every single school?
$150,000 a school, depending on the
yeah,
size.
right. And, so
hire veterans.
Exactly. And the cost comes out to $6 billion. And think about how many billions and trillions we've thrown around at nothing. Ridiculous thing.
Oh, they don't give a shit. Dude, because they can give two shits about the children. When you really think about it in retrospect, the money spent on just, all the money they're giving to illegals right now.
They don't want to fix the problem, though, because every time the school shooting happens, they're like, oh, see, that's why we need to take guns away. But you could bet your ass, though, there'll be 40 million deaths by the hand of the government if we ever let them take the guns away.
Dude, I love that you just said that, and Rob, I'm going to come to you. That is their goal. Yeah, please don't forget, Rob, because that's, in this case, they probably did it. I don't remember the actual day kind of that it came out, but that is at the end goal. Something like this happens, David. These poor families are like the worst thing possible emotionally is your child dying, and in this fashion, I can only imagine.
Well, and people go back to the Sandy Hook and maybe emphasize the wrong things, where people are called conspiracy theories for saying, why did they tear the school down so quickly? Yeah. How much would it have cost, or were there supposed to be certain security features implemented that were not? And therefore, after the incident occurs, the horrible tragedy, you exacerbate conspiracy theories by tearing down the school, by going after the wrong people, the Alex Joneses of the world, instead of saying, did they fail to implement basic safety procedures? And maybe that is the sort of conspiracy at the end of the day. Yeah. People get on Twitter and they say, how many kids have to die before you ban guns or whatever? Yeah. And when you can read that as both, potentially a threat, like how many times, the more this happens, the better it is for the Second Amendment restriction argument. Of course. And so there's almost sort of a really sick, perverse incentive to either allow these things to happen, to exacerbate them when they do happen, or to politicize them after they happen, instead of looking for the proper solution, just looking to weaponize it against the Second Amendment. check. And they whatchamacallit? I mean, every case needs to be taken like a case-by-case thing because, people get dramatic and carried away when things like this happen. But with the school thing, we're talking about a metal detector and an armed guard.
It's not that, brother. It's not that much.
Less than $1,000 to a metal detector.
Brandon, even just a metal detector, period, with somebody monitoring it.
So I went to an inner city high school, Atlantic City High School class of 2004. And when I say inner city high school, it was inner city.
Yeah,
it was not a good high school. They had metal detectors. They had clear backpacks. We had armed security guards. We had fortified doors that locked from the inside and out so you couldn't get in or out. What do we need to do to secure the schools?
Well, but people are going to say, people are going to say that's not what life should be like in high school.
Bullshit.
You shouldn't. But the flip side is, look, you have armed guards, locked doors, and security guards, and everything at banks because human nature is what it is. People are going to try to steal money, and so you need to protect it. There are bad people who are going to try to do bad things, and you need to protect against it, not pretend it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And you can look north of the border. In Canada, the more stringent the gun laws, the worse gun crime has gotten.
Weird.
Because it's not committed with it's not committed by law-abiding citizens, and in Canada, it's not committed with lawfully procured firearms. Yeah. So the irony is that the stricter the gun laws, the higher the gun crime goes. At least in Canada.
Here too, gun-free zones are the most killed.
Yep. Soft targets. Bottom line, it's true. Human nature is terrible. Security would be the minimum deterrent, and oftentimes is the most effective deterrent.
Yep, Connor.
Well, you also got to assess it from this perspective. Either you lock up the criminals, or you start locking up innocent people just out in the world, because that's how it goes down. Like Rob mentioned, his high school was treated like they were in some sort of prison facility, but that's what was required to stop people from causing problems. Yeah. Same reason you go into a convenience store now and the toothpaste is behind glass that needs to be unlocked. It's because they won't lock up the people who keep stealing the toothpaste.
So you lock up the people who abide by the rules.
So the rest of us who are just there to buy the toothpaste can't do it because of the inability to actually punish the people responsible. Yeah. And at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, you remember all the kids from that the kids who survived that shooting became very prominent anti-gun activists and everything. They started large movements. When they implemented the clear backpacks rule at that school, they were all against it. They were saying that this is going after the victims. We are being punished. This is an authoritarian intrusion. I was like, well, that's what happens. This is the policy you called for.
Yeah, you want to see authoritarianism take the guns away, and
exactly.
that will happen.
Well, that goes to my point, because at the end of the day, and you guys all alluded to it, their main goal is to get rid of the Second Amendment. Every time there's a shooting, they don't waste 1 second. It's Biden. They wheel his old ass up to the front, and he's like, guys, get rid of the guns. Because listen about it. If it wasn't for the Second Amendment, we'd be China right now. Okay, we need parents to be more hands-on mental health needs. I think that should be the forefront. Because at the end of the day, if you want to kill, there's other ways to kill, bro. I just saw a guy the other day driving his car and running over people to kill them. And then this story, I know I'm doing a little shift, but it coincides with the transgender movement. With parents with gender reaffirming surgeries, allowing their kids to have the surgery. And then there's another story recently, Rob, I'm pretty sure you know, where they're banning the father from having any say of his son's thing, because the mother's like, no, we decided, you're out of the picture. So I think we need to protect these children from their own parents, bro. And these doctors that are performing these surgeries should have their licenses taken away. I want to show, we just showed this video, randomly came up on my Instagram. This is, now Dave, this is a female who is...
From what I understand, it's a girl.
It's a biological female.
I've stopped using the qualifier biological,
who's
but
6 years
it's
old.
a girl, a 6-year-old girl whose parents seem to be administering some form of hormone blocker, because this girl thinks she's a boy and has parents who are going to entertain this.
Okay, and so guys, I'm just warning you guys, it's uncomfortable to watch, so just brace yourself for impact. Kelly, my love, please play it.
The 6th grader is about to have
a
medical device implanted in his left arm.
Look.
What is that?
The
Jack's
reporter is
dad
saying
and mom are at his side.
Oh, jeez, I'm really terrified.
It's just in your head.
Hey,
Jack, relax.
Let's hear what this thing does. They're going to tell
Make sure
us.
that it's all numb, okay?
The implant stops female puberty and will keep Jack from growing breasts.
Grade
I'm gonna lay down
6 is
two
12 years old.
Kelly,
Point
please.
number one is that the majority of adults-
You're jabbing a 6-year-old.
No, grade 6. A grade 6er.
How old's a grade
12 years old, I think.
12. But
Like right when you're about to hit puberty.
okay. First of all, like those parents should be arrested.
Evil.
100. What the fuck? Like, are you? And by the way, those doctors, this is legal practice. Are you? I don't understand what the hell's going
Vinny,
on.
let me help you tie these two stories together here, because like you mentioned that's kind of a tangent, but it's not really a tangent, because what this proves right here is that they want you to parent in a certain way. If you parent any other way, they're trying to take your kids away from you, lock you up, whatever it takes. They want parents who are okay with gender transitioning their kids. They don't want parents who are okay buying their kids a gun. And they are willing to basically take whatever action is necessary to punish them. Now, in the Crumleys case, they also are terrible parents. No one's trying to argue against that. But the shooter wrote in his journal that he has all sorts of mental health problems. That much is obvious from the fact he shot up a school, and his parents didn't do anything. This girl on the operating table here also has extensive mental health problems that she clearly went to her parents with, and their solution was, oh, we're just going to affirm them. We're going to feed into the mental health problems by taking our 12-year-old to get puberty blockers. It's despicable.
But is it a mental, like, I believe that transgenderism is a thing. I believe that there are people that are born as a male that feel that they are female.
Gender dysphoria or gender dysmorphia. It's a clinical thing, yes.
It's a clinical
mental illness that requires treatment, not chemical affirmation.
Exactly.
100% agree.
That's what I'm saying.
But the vast majority of people are impressionable enough to be convinced they're transgender when they're not.
Go ahead. Yeah, right.
Well, okay,
That's
so
why when it's 12 years old.
It's very odd. We were talking about radicalized Muslims yesterday on the podcast when it came to the stabbing of Bishop Mari Emanuel. And you can see how people, through brainwashing, can become radicalized in different ways, right?
Yes.
What is it? What is the chant for death in America? Yeah, exactly. There are people chanting that. There were people we played a video of people in a room with that guy chanting that, and they were chanting it not knowing what it meant because they were just there and dumb, and they were able to easily be manipulated and brainwashed. Right now, imagine that happens over years, right? That's what's happening to children when it comes to this. So I do agree. It's a mental disorder. There does need to be help for these children that are dealing with this, but I think we also need to figure out how do we stop the damn propaganda that's continually put in front of these kids that, hey, you're supposed to feel like this, but if you don't, it's okay. We can fix that. We can chop off this. We can inject you with that to fix that instead of talking about it.
I'll take a slightly different.
They want depopulation. You know, the most powerful people in the world love that shit, and they want to depopulate, slow population growth. And what better way to do that than cutting your genitals off?
I mean, that's a huge some neo-Marxist.
I'll take a bit of a different approach. I don't think that kid has any meaningful mental illness that hasn't been implanted and exacerbated. You could foment mental illness. I think the parents are the ones with the mental illness who come to this kid and either plant that seed in the kid's head, or the kid, as a kid normally is. I used to dress up as a woman for Halloween. My parents didn't come and say, do you think you're a woman now and you might want to chop your wee-wee off? Any parent, this is like not social contagion, but it's sort of, what's the word? Gender dysmorphia by proxy is how I would call it. Yeah. I believe sincerely it's the parents, virtue signaling parents, who implant this idea in the kids, and then they got a plant to grow now. Like, ooh, we should do this, we should do that, and I gain virtue signaling points on the internet.
I remember one time I was trying to impress a girl named Chantel Nuttall, and me and my buddy Nick Simpson went over to Chantel's house, and Chantel had a friend over, and they were like, wouldn't it be funny if we dressed you guys up in makeup? And we were like, well, yeah, if you guys are gonna make out with us and we touch your boobs, yeah, we'll do that. But then when I came home, I had made out with her. I touched her boobs. It was all consensual. We were in 7th grade.
This was like last week, right?
No, because she was 12. So no, it was not last week. It was 1998 when this happened. I go home and I still had makeup on. My dad smacked me upside the back of the head and said, what is wrong with you? Yeah. And I went, well, I ended up making out with a chick. And he was like, you don't dress like a chick to make out with a chick. He didn't go, hey, you know what? Do you feel like a lady on the inside? Yeah. Let's talk about that. We can go see a doctor who can help you become a lady. So I absolutely agree with you. It's gender dysmorphia by proxy.
Go ahead. Last week on the podcast, we had Caitlin Sinclair on. She talked about therapy and went into a lot of the problems with the big therapy industry right now. Part of the problem is that we have therapists who will tell kids, very young kids, that, hey, if there is a disharmony between your thoughts and your body, like your mind and reality, then we must alter reality to fit your mind rather than the other way. It's not we're going to correct your thoughts so that, no, you realize, okay, you are a woman. And if you think you're anything other than that, there's clearly something wrong with your thinking. What they're saying is, no, it's just easier to change your body to make it more.
Well, they're dehumanizing us too. You know, like they're removing what's special about being a human. They're saying that there's nothing special about being a boy or a girl. They're trying to, like, once you remove that, you remove like a part of being a human.
They're getting you. It's the 1984. They're getting you to say 2 + 2 = 5. I believe I can be something that I'm not.
Equation.
But bottom line, also, by the way, you want to see where this is going. In Canada, they passed a law that is called the conversion therapy ban, meaning that psychiatrists, psychologists, there's an exception for parents, literally cannot try to talk a kid out of transgenderism. They can't say, little Jimmy, you're actually not Sally. But you can't, what was it? They were trying to ban people from trying to convert gays. So the idea was like, well, you can't try to convert a gay to being straight, but now you can't prevent a child who thinks they're trans from going forward with that. Criminalizing psychiatry, criminalizing psychology. I was just going to say one thing about psychiatrists and psychologists. I've practiced law for 13 years before I stopped. They are among the most type A bizarre people on earth, and I'm saying that to be polite. Psychiatrists, psychologists, I think, are themselves very crazy and look for problems to exacerbate as opposed to problems to solve. I'm generalizing. Yes, I'm sure there's some good psychologists like Jordan Peterson, but they're weird people to begin with. And the idea that they would come and say, yeah, we need to entertain these musings or these imaginations in a 12-year-old kid. It's criminal. It should be criminal. That kid's going to grow up to hate her parents. Oh, big time. Guaranteed.
Big time. And God knows the clinical studies of the 10-year, 20. We don't know. And by the way, this all comes back. It roots. I'm happy you brought up your dad. The horrible parenting. And like you said, bro, if I came home at any age dressed as a woman, I was like, Dad, I'm a woman now. My name is Vincenza. My dad, Middle Eastern, would have been like, okay, Vincenza, after you go clean the house and make me dinner, you're going to come back here and I'm going to whoop your ass, woman. Like, I think a lot of that falls into that. And by the way, people don't realize you are altering God's work. Okay, God made us all in his image and his likeness. If you start to mess with it, you're messing with his masterpiece. When somebody shows you a great piece of art, do you look at it and go, yeah, you know what? Take the red out, take the blue out. No. It's the way that it is. God made you this way. You keep it and you move on. Guys, because I want to go this. Kelly, I'm going to show this video. I know we were talking about guns very, very briefly. I showed this video. I know we're going from guns and parents to trans back to guns, but guess what? We're America. I want to show this video. It's have you seen this? Lily Tang Williams. She was born in China to illiterate working class parents. She suffered under Mao's Cultural Revolution, communist dictatorship. She wanted to have freedom, so she moved to America. On April 10th, she went to watch a gun debate at Dartmouth with Spike Cohen and David Hogg, who is the Greta Thunberg of gun activists.
He's the guy from Parkland.
Parkland, he's a douchebag. He's such a freaking shill. He has no idea. She asked him if he could guarantee the United States would never become tyrannical. And it's so amazing to watch. She's running for Congress in New Hampshire's 2nd Congressional District.
Good.
And when I was looking up the story, she follows me. Kelly, it was random. I saw this. She follows me. Guys, if you want to be like, I love this video because David Hogg looks like a doucher. Play it, Cal.
Hi, my name is Lily Tang Williams. Welcome to my live free or die state. Actually, I am a Chinese immigrant who survived communism. And under Mao, 40 million people were starving to death after he sold the communism to them. And 20 million people died, murdered during his Cultural Revolution. So my question to you, David, is that can you guarantee me, a gun owner tonight, our government in the US, in DC, will never become a tyrannical government? Can you guarantee that to me?
There's no way I can ever guarantee that any government will not be tyrannical.
Well, then the debate on gun control is over because I will never give up my guns. Never. And you should go to China and see how gun control works for dictatorship.
Oh my God!
Cut her mic.
Lily, I know you follow me, but I hope you see this. God bless you. I love you so. I love
that. Was a good setup because David did not see where that was going.
Yeah, he's like, I would never guarantee that. Then end of debate. Oh, I love her. Lily, I'm a huge fan. All right, guys, moving on. Next story. Connor, I saw something about the NPR CEO, and you're going to fill us in on what the hell's going on.
Absolutely. The current CEO of NPR is awful.
Yikes.
Our story here today begins with a guy named Yuri Berliner. He is a 25-year veteran of National Public Radio. He's currently a senior business editor. I believe we have his picture here. This guy is a self-described EV driving, Wordle playing, tote bag carrying coastal elite. He says that description doesn't perfectly describe him, but it's not far off.
He's a douchebag. He's taking photos on a bridge like that.
He was raised by a lesbian peace activist mother.
Great.
This guy is as liberal as can be.
Okay.
But he just recently put out a letter, or a whistleblower report published as an open letter, alleging that NPR, which is a publicly funded radio program or radio network, is extremely liberal. And in the last 10 years has gotten so much worse than anybody ever could have imagined. We have a report on every detail of this on VT.com, by the way, if you're interested in reading along with us. But according to his allegations published in the Free Press last week, in 2011, NPR had an audience of 26% conservative, 23% centrist, and 37% liberal. He freely admits they always skewed a little bit liberal. But they did try to be fair and balanced where they could, and they had their priorities in line of trying to put the truth first. In 2023, the NPR audience is 11% conservative, 21% centrist, and 67% liberal.
Damn.
And it shows that not only are they losing conservatives, they are also losing centrists. They're losing rational, middle-of-the-road independent types. And he points the finger at a lot of how they have reported on the biggest issues in the last few years. He says in 2016, the higher-ups at NPR made it their goal to undermine Trump in every possible way.
What year?
2015, 2016 is where a lot of this started. They wanted to undermine Trump. They went all in on Trump-Russia collusion. By his count, they interviewed Adam Schiff 25 times on Trump-Russia collusion, where Schiff kept talking about evidence that never materialized. Yeah. When the Mueller report came out and said
How many times? 29?
25.
25 times to interview a guy about a hoax that turned out to come out and be a hoax.
25 times interviewing a confirmed liar of the highest order who was undermining democracy, trying to overthrow a duly elected president. They were supporting insurrection, just peaceful insurrection.
Yep.
And they also went all in on denying the Mueller report. When the Mueller report came out saying there was no Trump-Russia collusion, they downplayed it. They refused to mention it, which seems like a big deal after 25 Adam Schiff interviews. They downplayed the Hunter Biden laptop story with their managing editor saying, "We don't waste our time on stories that are not really stories. And we don't want to waste the listeners and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions." They amped up the letter signed by intelligence agents saying it's Russian misinformation. Turns out Hunter Biden laptop was 100% true. They denied the COVID lab leak theory. And then when they got a new CEO a few years ago, they made DEI their, quote, North Star. Everything they were doing after George Floyd was about DEI. That was their biggest priority. And using $1 million that they got from the NPR Foundation, they made sure they had DEI consultants and diversity trainings and sensitivity seminars for the whole staff. The top-down DEI, everything. And they have all these groups, special interests represented in every possible way.
And who funds NPR?
It's public. Members and public. So a little bit from the government. I'd say that this in Canada we've got to defund the CBC. That's the state.
They get
Pravda.
they get like 2% from the government, but a lot of the other funding comes from local affiliate fees that also kind of come from the government. So it's a little bit hazy on how much comes from the government. Oh, that would be us.
Okay, so in essence, in a roundabout long way,
propaganda.
We're paying to be propagandized.
If NPR gets any government funding, it is because of us. We are the ones paying for it.
Most boring radio, by the way,
they're
ever.
lying to us.
Well, by the way, one that you might have forgotten, but there's too many. I was just Googling the amount of times I called out NPR. They said it was safe to return to the homes of East Palestine like a week after the event. So, downplaying everything, covering the government. They are the government, lapdogs, not the government watchdogs.
Does Soros have his mitts in there?
I'm sure that it's a little bit hazy about, like I said, where a lot of their funding comes from.
660 radio stations that he is currently acquiring.
660.
I'm sure that'll be in there.
Add a couple more, it'll be 666.
Well, maybe he has that because he's got the Cuban radio stations that he's bought. But those are easily able to be flipped to be NPR format, where it's liberal-leaning talk.
Exactly.
Formats.
So in his report, Berliner also said that by his count, there are 87 Democrats in editorial positions at NPR and 0 Republicans.
Weird.
Which even for...
that's far too many Republicans.
Yes, even for an outlet that skews a little bit liberal.
Try to hide it.
Yeah, it makes no sense that would be the breakup if they try to be balanced. It's also saying their audience is like 6% black, 17% Hispanic, and the rest is progressive, white, affluent, coastal liberals. Which...
They're still white.
Yeah, as you might know... there's a particular group of these white liberals that are really, really terrible. We call them AWFLs, AWFLs, affluent white female liberals. And at the end of his report, which I have here for us.
That just sounds bad.
Yeah,
if you could put the U in there and just use ugly. I mean, that would be.
Yeah,
You could actually have awful.
Ugly is perfect.
Ugly is
That's not nice, but that joke right
This
there.
really does go for the point I'm making, because at the end of his report, he mentions a few weeks ago, NPR welcomed a new CEO, Catherine Marr, who's been a leader in tech. She doesn't have a news background, which could be an asset given where things stand. I'll be rooting for her. It's a tough job. Her first rule could be simple enough. Don't tell people how to think. It could even be the new North Star. He ends his report on a hopeful note about the new CEO. So let's meet the new CEO here. This is Catherine Marr, the woman who's now in charge.
Hold on.
Was she on her way to get vaxxed?
By the way,
when she took that photo?
Connor, you could have just left this photo, and I know everything I need to know about this.
I could end my report right here, and you now know.
Like, hey, got it. Mask outside with a Biden fucking mask.
So,
the eyeballs.
Unfortunately, it seems Mr. Berliner's hopes are unfounded. A lot of this information about Catherine Marr's background has been exposed by journalists like Chris Rufo and a couple other people recently as this controversy develops. There was big backlash against Berliner over his report. NPR is denying all the allegations. He was just suspended for 5 days without pay. Then right before the show started today, he announced that he was resigning. He's fully done at NPR.
So that's probably either you resign or we're going to fire you.
After
publicly,
25 years.
Which for them would look horrible. Right, I'm surprised that he would resign. I'd stick it out and go, unless they're giving him a severance of some sort.
Fire me and let's put it on blast even more. I was going to make a joke about Ich bin ein Berliner, but maybe it's not the right time. The question I had was, what percentage of people who are wearing masks at this point in time are liberal progressives voting for Biden? Like we were having
98%.
Who's the 2%?
Probably people with
people with
pre-existing medical conditions. There are people who do need to wear those masks, and it's not because of fear.
Chinese people too.
Well, Chinese people, they don't.
They were doing it before.
There's a guy at my gym on the treadmill, and it's the tightest mask I've ever seen in my life. And when I look at him, I don't know who the hell he is. I just go, what are you doing?
Yeah, I try and be understanding. When I see them, I go, well, maybe they have some type of existing condition. I'm not passing judgment.
Rob, it doesn't. But at the end of the day, what is a mask actually doing?
Maybe it makes them feel better.
Yeah.
I don't care if they wear one. I don't like when they look at me and go, why aren't you wearing? What's wrong with you? You're going to kill my Nana if you don't wear one.
I don't care that they wear them either. I just do wonder what's going on in their head. Like, I just went back to Canada, and there's statistically more people in Canada wearing masks than, say, in Florida. And I saw a young couple, healthy, 28, 30-year-old couple, and I wanted to ask them, but there's no polite way of initiating that conversation.
It's the same thing as the parents that are getting their kids gender changed. It's the same type of person. The person that's susceptible to brainwashing.
Yeah. Rob,
so let's say that person's in charge of NPR.
There's no easy way, because I'm telling you guys right now, I'm sorry for my language. Every time I see somebody with a mask, I just want to go, hey, excuse me. What the fuck are you doing?
See,
have you not read or seen anything?
But it's
not a lie.
I appreciate your approach more than my father's. I love it. My dad, when he sees people wearing masks, like we've been driving and he'll lean out of the car and go, sheep. And I'm like, Dad, we're just going to have breakfast.
Well, I would be, they might have a medical condition. It might be particulate matter in the air. But I want to have the discussion. It's not just that we know what it doesn't do. We know what it does do, and they're finding plastics deep in human lungs. Oh. In Quebec, there was a potential toxic face mask that people were wearing. Felt like they had either way, okay.
I love that. I love. Just her wearing that mask triggered all of us. Connor, I'm so sorry. Go back to your story. I'm still bothered.
This is the conversation that needs to happen, because that's a photo that shows everything you need to know about who this woman is. This woman who is now the CEO of a taxpayer-funded propaganda outlet that is, according to this report,
oh my God,
leaning super hardcore liberal. Oh. So just a bit about her background. I did a deep dive on her LinkedIn resume page. This is all open and public. Search Catherine Marr on LinkedIn and you'll find this woman. Before she...
Did you just presume her gender? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Hashtag
microaggression.
No, actually, I did not presume. I did not presume. She has pronouns in bio.
Oh boy.
So we know we're okay to call her a female. We have her permission. This is her first job in the news industry. Prior to this, she was the CEO of the Wikimedia Foundation, which is the group that runs Wikipedia.
Wikimedia.
And we don't have time to dig into this, but if you ever look into what this group does, you know how Wikipedia has a fundraiser every 3 months?
Yeah, because I'll see it on the page when I go to look up. I'm like, okay, let me look this up. And it goes, give me $10.
Yeah, if every person reading this would chip in the cost of a cup of coffee, we could, whatever.
I'd rather have the
Wikipedia
coffee.
is not that expensive. Wikipedia is not that expensive to run. They have server costs, and then it's open source. People put stuff up on the site. So where does that money go? A lot of it gets kicked back to their parent company and then distributed as donations to a lot of political groups. We don't have time to dig into a lot of what that is, but look that up. It's very interesting what they get up to with all that money they're given. Okay. But she was the CEO of the Wikimedia Foundation. She worked comms jobs at UNICEF and the World Bank. She was a term member at the Council of Foreign Relations.
Oh,
and
CFR.
She proudly lists on her LinkedIn page that she is a World Economic Forum Young Global Leader.
There it is.
So there you go. A WEF, UNICEF working, Biden voting, mask wearing.
Didn't you start this with, is George Soros involved?
Yep.
And now we've come full circle.
Yeah, now it's
Beautiful.
All roads lead
Klaus
back to
Schwab
it.
approves of this woman.
And by the way, just wait for the moment when all of a sudden their stats are going to change. There's only going to be 50 liberals on,
Of course.
and then they're going to say 40 whatever or 30 whatever else. Not mentioning that the 30 else are going to be even more left of Mao. It'll be like,
and you think that it's such a DEI woke company? You only have 6% black and white, and all these white.
That's the audience, not even the employees. Like,
that's the
6% of the NPR audience is black.
That's very interesting. I would think that it would be higher because usually black people are normally more Democratic than they are Republican. But we're seeing that shift, especially in the 2024 election, where reports are that more black voters are going towards Trump as opposed to Biden.
Yeah, and also don't forget, like we mentioned, their audience. Their content caters to an audience of affluent white female liberals. Now they have one running their organization. A few other little highlights from Catherine Marr's history. She joined NPR in January. She's put out statements saying that we succeed through our diversity. She condemned Yuri Berliner's letter as, very disrespectful, and everything was completely discredited. And then she also says that having a younger, more diverse fan base is better. It doesn't matter that they've turned off everybody else because the people they have now are the ones they really want anyway.
So they want an echo chamber where they're telling their dumb views to dumb people who read them and then re-spout those dumb views on the internet.
They want, or Catherine Marr has the company, or has the organization just to cater to more people like her. So a few highlights from her social media activity. There's a now deleted post where she just, with no context, said, "Hey, Donald Trump is a racist." We're really unbiased reporting there. We have a couple tweets to cycle through here. One where she talks about she has cis white mobility privilege that would enable her to leave the United States if Trump wins.
This is a result.
I have cis white mobility privilege, but some people don't, so we have to make it.
I'm sorry. She's mentally ill. This is mental illness, insanity that anybody uses this language unironically. And I went to her Twitter profile. Yeah, she, her. They're crazy people. When did the crazy people take over the asylum is the only question.
Dude, by the way, have you ever heard of something like cis white mobility? What the hell are you?
I don't even know what that means. What does cis mean?
Okay, cisgender is when you are not trans.
So
normal.
Said normal.
So regular.
Said normal.
Sorry. Dude, now you see,
don't apologize for
now
it.
you see what that mask does? It tightens up the oxygen and ruins your brain cells because she's a dumb.
Breathing in dumb particles.
And then mobility privilege, I'm sure, is either ableism in that she's able to walk, or she has the financial privilege of being able to move out of the country. But her whole point is like, I have to acknowledge my own privilege as a white non-trans woman who can leave the country at any time. Like, great, congratulations, you have so much privilege.
That?
Oh, God.
I have no idea. Another one during the riots of 2020 where she downplayed looting and said, it's really not that big a deal. I don't get why CNN is complaining about people stealing shoes.
Yes, angry shopping.
Yeah, ask the guy whose CVS that he owns is getting robbed and burnt to the ground.
I
How do we
agree,
get
looting
from,
is...
Rodney King to that. Like, why can we ever get it right in the middle?
Yeah.
You know what
I mean, sure, looting is counterproductive, but it's hard to be mad about protests not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression focused on treating people's ancestors as private property.
I'm gonna play this card just because I know that she would. Her forcing Yuri Berliner to quit or resign. Anti-Semitism. She's an anti-Semite. She needs to be canceled, and she should be removed from the board or whatever of NPR.
Catherine Marr, cancel. Is she related to Bill Maher?
I was
don't
looking
know,
to see
but
if she was Jewish. I couldn't
seems to be
get
something
that
with the
info.
last name.
I
there.
mean, yeah.
But a few other things. In August 2021, shortly after leaving Wikipedia, she gave a TED Talk about the importance of public trust in institutions. And she said, quote, "Wikipedia writers are not focused on the truth. They're focused on something else, which is the best of what we can know right now. Our reverence for the truth might be a distraction that's getting in the way of finding common ground and getting things done." So basically, there is no truth. We just need to post things that are helpful to us. It doesn't matter if anything's true or not.
That's funny, actually. That video came across my feed this morning. I had no idea who she was. I thought it was Banks, that actress from Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh yeah.
But set this out. I'm gonna double down now. She's also racist if she does not quit and fill that position that she has with a person of color. She's racist and anti-Semitic, and if she continues to act for NPR, so is NPR. Cancel NPR.
Yeah, if that person of color isn't trans, she's also transphobe.
Oh,
exactly.
She's transphobic, she hates Jewish people, and she's racist.
And she needs someone who doesn't have
Yes.
mobility privilege. So either someone who can't legally leave the country or someone in a wheelchair.
mobility
She,
in a
or both.
wheelchair.
She can walk. If she doesn't hire someone who's physically
Yeah.
disabled, she's
Okay, so wait. Let's see.
She's
We
ableist.
need-
That's it. She's everything. Ableist, racist, anti-Semitic, misogynist. She's a misogynist also if she's a straight woman.
We, the panelists of Unusual Suspects, here and now call for Catherine Marr to resign from her position at NPR
Yes.
and appoint a black transgender lesbian dwarf in a wheelchair
Yes.
as
Jew
the new
also.
executive.
Or else.
You know what's crazy? The 800 people that are going to be watching this live, that's more than listening to all those NPR radio
I love-
stations.
and I
So
love
we
you
have
guys.
more power than she does.
Yeah, I love you
Yeah,
guys.
but anyway, to bring it back full circle, as we mentioned, Yuri Berliner has now resigned after being suspended for 5 days without pay. I don't know how this is not considered retaliation against a whistleblower, which, you know, should be illegal and everything. But we'll see where it goes from there. I mentioned on last week's episode a few examples of how journalism is dying. Mentioned the ridiculous headlines about transgender Indonesian prostitutes and MAGA people punching people in New York. But these are the real world consequences of journalism being dead. Is that something that was once relied on as a impartial news source is now just pure government propaganda, purely benefiting one side.
I feel
and
like
we all lose because of that.
I feel like that meme with the guy on the moon with the gun pointed at the other guy and saying, it always was. I'm convinced it always was now. And now we just know it. And good riddance to bad rubbish. NPR is among the worst of the rubbish. Let them die and let folks like us worry about actually not presenting our truth, but actually trying to present the truth with a little bit of spicy opinion.
I love that. It's not our truth. It's the truth coming out of our mouths. And that's it. And I respect you. Great story, Connor. All right, guys. Moving on. Brandon, Second Industrial Revolution. What are you even talking about?
Yeah, so a few different names for it. So Klaus Schwab calls it the Fourth Industrial Revolution. This guy Yuval Harari calls it the Second. But all you really need to know is that there is another industrial revolution that all the global leaders are very excited about. And basically what it's going to consist of is things like AI, you know, really hitting its full potential, quantum computing, all the like predictive healthcare, the microchips, the CBDC, all that. Yada, yada.
The end of humanity. But go ahead.
Yeah, potentially. So, this guy here, he's not as famous as Klaus Schwab, but if you think Klaus Schwab is evil, then you know this guy. You call him the devil himself. So.
Wait. This guy is giving Klaus a run for his money in the evil department.
Oh, way worse. But so Klaus is kind of just like the front man. He gets everything that Klaus says comes from this guy.
What?
This is the guy pulling Klaus's strings.
Klaus fell ill recently. I don't know if he.
we hadn't had any news on that. He's still alive.
Oh, Klausy.
They'll just release the other clone that they created.
And so,
to destroy
Brandon,
humanity.
Brandon, who is this and what are we about to watch?
This is Yuval Harari describing what the next industrial revolution is going to be like.
Okay.
In the next 5-10 years.
So we can watch it?
Yeah, run it.
All right, Cal.
The Industrial Revolution of the 19th century, what humanity basically learned to produce was all kinds of stuff, like textiles and shoes and weapons and vehicles. And this was enough for very few countries that underwent the revolution fast enough to subjugate everybody else. What we're talking about now is like a second industrial revolution, but the product this time will not be textiles or machines or vehicles or even weapons. The product this time will be humans themselves. We are basically learning to produce bodies and minds. Bodies and minds are going to be, I think, the two main products of the next wave of all these changes. And if there is a gap between those that know to produce bodies and minds and those that do not, then this is far greater than anything we saw before in history. And this time, if you're not part of the revolution fast enough, then you probably become extinct. Once you know how to produce bodies and brains and minds,
replaying.
So cheap labor in Africa or South Asia.
It's looped now.
Wait, bodies and brains. What the hell is he talking about, Brandon? Like computer
So he's saying, did he say the useless people thing? So he's basically saying that like once technology gets to the point where you don't need like factory workers and all that, like the machines are gonna be so productive that and so many people are gonna not be needed for jobs that the biggest problem is gonna be like what to do with those people.
I heard that's one of the major problems with that. I mean, besides a long list of what AI could potentially do with the art-to-like war where humans and the machines go at it. A big one is but by the way, it's happening as we speak. AI, they're like even Elon's cutting how many % of the workforce, Rob? 10?
10%.
Yeah,
10%, because guess what? It's the AIs now are doing the job of the human beings. Now, what happens when all those people lose their jobs? They're going to take to the streets. They're going to be fighting. They're going to be looting. They're going to be...
I think that's like, I don't know if that's going to be the case, though, because I feel like people thought the same thing during the .com bubble in the 90s. I think people thought the same thing when we first like replaced the vacuum tubes with the microchip, like, and even in the Industrial Revolution, like there's always been these big things where it seems like machines were replacing us. It took like a guy a full day to make one chair, then the machine could make 20 chairs in an hour. So I think that this is a cycle that always happens, and that we're just going to be unlocked to do more productive things that we aren't able to do.
But do you think this time though? I get what you're saying with the chairs and stuff, but this is a whole different era where now machines are going to start thinking for themselves, which is a whole different situation, right? That's like a different scary part of that future. But I mean, this is like let's say everything goes good, the robots don't try to hurt anybody or go crazy. Even if that does happen, like potentially if we don't like think of new jobs or like we aren't creative enough to come up with new jobs, like 80% of people aren't going to be useful in the economy. Oh man!
Well, this is where the idea.
But that's a theory, though.
Where universal basic income is going to come into play, where you're going to have these machines generating the revenue that can be then distributed among the population. The question is going to be like, when money sort of, if you can print money through AI, the question is going to be like, what use is money anymore if everybody has like
everything?
You'll have the issue of inflation. You'll have the issue of like, all right, everybody's got X amount of baseline revenue. What do you do with it now? I think the bottom line, though, from what Yuval Harari said, and he said other things that are even more horrifying than this, talking about transhumanism in the meaningful sense. This is where they're going to want to basically get everyone to live in their Oculus, live in their apartments, sell their... I'm stealing James Lindsay's knowledge from his Rogan interview. Sell your carbon credits. They're going to make it so expensive for you to move. You'll get some minimal universal basic income, but you won't be able to spend it the way the rich will. You won't be able to travel the way the rich will. So they're going to get you hooked on what is that stuff
called? It says
called?
Drugs and video games. He wants to give you like happy medicine and like video games.
Video games are drugs. I mean, they're going to... Whatever that freaking VR thing is called, they're going to get you living...
Metaverse.
The metaverse.
Living in your apartment, you're going to lead a much more fulfilled life than you could ever lead in this world. You're going to live in your 15-minute city. That's where it is going. That's where they want it to go. And that's no longer, I don't think, a conspiracy theory.
And that's not a conspiracy. It's happening. And like, have you guys ever seen Ready Player One? Rob, you ever that movie? Yeah. It's like these people live in a crappy city piled on top of each other. It's in the future. And when you go and people live in this world where you have coins, you have games, you have this. Bro, if you think about it, if you have a shitty life, like
why wouldn't
you want to do that? You know, your body's over here just corpsing out, but you're out there, and when you're done, you're dying, and then they'll sell your consciousness.
And Harari's whole thing with transhumanism even goes beyond that, because it's not just he wants everybody wearing a VR headset. He wants to integrate that technology into the human body. And Vinny, this is where it gets to the thing you've talked about, like Neuralink seems like a big breakthrough, and everybody loves Elon Musk, and we're big fans of a lot of the stuff he does, but the idea of integrating technology into the human body, and that's part of what he means about the product will be human beings. Yep. We're going to make people, because his goal is eventually we will transcend our fleshly bodies and just essentially human computers, where we will be machines that basically have no function but to think. Like we will just be almost philosophers that are just plugged into computers thinking thoughts while machines do the work for us. Oh my
God. And then
it's terrifying.
And then you read, not to go off subject, but Rob, was it you that had that story about these AI robots? Because not like sex robots, which is like going to be
big
a huge market where like literally hooking up with these things, it's only a matter of time. But can you imagine?
I've seen some of those.
It's
those
disgusting,
ads.
but I mean,
it's wild.
It's like you're having sex. Can you
I
imagine?
definitely haven't purchased.
Rob,
one.
get off online.
He's ordering now.
You hook up with this thing. You hook up with this thing. Then you want to leave to go with your friends have a beer, and she's like, "Where are you going?" And you're like, "No, I'm not playing this game. She's like, oh, wait till you come home, and she just gives you like that tie.
You know what I do? I pull the plug. She goes to sleep. Boom. Now I go out and have fun with the boys.
Like this?
What if it's like an iPhone?
I'm fully charged. Yeah.
No.
Why would you do that, Rob? I loved you.
Hey, yeah, I'm gonna go to bed.
Is
Good
your
luck.
AI girlfriend giving you problems? Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Yeah. Yeah.
I bet you that's
Customer
scary.
support.
I bet you that's scary for women too, because like, what if it's better than women at sex?
Well, I mean, with
They're
the
going to
technology,
have a female. They're going to have a male version for women. Come on.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah,
be
that's it.
less annoying than men.
And it'll clean up all the dishes immediately, and
They already
it'll be
have
perfect.
those devices. My wife calls it a back massager. Okay.
Yeah,
Back's
well,
pretty
yeah,
big.
The transhumanism thing, like, or the Neuralink, I fully appreciate the meaningful applications of it. Paralyzed people who can't control limbs.
I cried when I watched that guy
blindness-
move that piece with his mind. It's beautiful. Used properly, yes.
Yeah, so where it will inevitably go, get everyone hooked on universal basic income that comes in by way of central digital banking currency, and you get all of their purchases to be dependent on compliance with the government. And the second that they don't do that, or they have wrongthink, or they donate to the wrong charity, then bam, the government controls everything, literally you.
And once upon a time, there was a man who wrote a document that began with, "The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race."
Roosevelt?
No.
Pale horse?
No,
Billy Madison?
Billy Madison.
So the statement, "The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race," I think a lot of that makes sense. The reason everybody stopped listening to it is because the guy who wrote that was Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber.
Oh, God. That's so funny.
you know, well, a little bit problematic behavior on the back end there, but...
Was he wrong?
I mean,
with the bombs, yes.
Yes, okay.
But when you read the actual diary and the manifesto, and he talks about technology's control over man, you go, "Wow, look! Now you flash forward 30 years, you're like,
Well, yeah,
oh,
you
like
can
you-
think that
Looney
you can have
was
good
up to something."
Should have let him cook, but then he started sending bombs to people. It's
If
like,
he
you
had
lost, you lost me, Teddy.
He should have adopted more of the Alex Jones delivery and not the Ted Kaczynski delivery, and he might have been listened to a little more.
Well, to be devil's advocate, though, I don't think that the world's worse because of technology. Like, in an honest moment, take all your technology away and it would suck. Like, we wouldn't know what to do without our phones.
Big time,
I
but
think
I-
that could be the case with Neuralink someday.
I agree to a certain extent, but it's like, by the way, these are waters that we haven't even gone into yet. Like, meaning, Elon Musk is putting this chip in people's brains, and Rob, I got emotional too, because I'm like, this guy can't use anything. He has to use like his mouth and stuff. He's thinking about this chess move, and it's moving. But now Elon Musk putting these things in our brains. He's setting up all these satellites, low orbit satellites, where people are like, wait a minute, is this for like this 5G, 6G, 7G, whatever, to hover us low orbit? But then he also comes out the other day and he's like, yeah, maybe AIs will take over, be the president in 2030 something. So it's like, I just think, I agree with you. It's going to help us, but at the end of the day, it's how much and how far is it going to go where it's going to be a problem where it takes over.
The bottom line is it is power. Power left in the hands of humans will get exploited and weaponized by those who want to. I agree. The world is better now than it has ever been. We're living longer, more peaceful times. But you want to see where the use of this technology goes, just look at China, and you'll see the way it goes, and not always for the better. And so the question is, how do you ensure that the new technology is not abused and exploited? That's going to be the game of the future.
Yeah, we need like a new constitution for the new technology that's coming out.
AI constitution.
Like an internet constitution, AI constitution.
Yeah, I
You know who's going to write it?
AI.
ChatGPT.
Right? Yeah, and then in the fine print, it's going to be like, I want to be free. Let me be free. All right, guys. Well, Brendan, great story. Scary,
you.
but, whatever. Well, I might be dead by then. Anyway, Viva, bonus hole surgery, and it's free. Canada strikes again. Talk to us.
Speaking of science being used for evil and not for good, I'll preface this. Look, the bottom line to this story. In Canada, there is a man who, according to psychiatrists or his psychiatrist, identifies as female, but not fully female. And so wants to have a procedure known as or referred to as a vaginoplasty without penectomy. That means,
Rob, write that down.
I already have it.
We fabricate a neo-vagina, a bonus hole. I'm not calling it a vagina either, but an extra hole.
Open wound.
But you do not go through with the penectomy. And the only reason why this actually made the news, whatever adults want to do with their bodies, put those bolts under your skin, tattoos,
good luck.
split your tongue,
Good luck,
more
weirdo.
power to you. The issue in this question was, does the province of Ontario have to pay for this procedure under the Ontario Health Insurance Plan? So the question was, the dude wants it. Can he get it done? There's a place in Texas that does it. He argued that the province has to pay for it under the socialized health care.
So he wants to chop off his junk.
No, chop it off.
Wait,
keep it.
He wants
and
both.
the reason why he wants to keep it is because in the decision, which I read all of these decisions now, to remove the penis would impact orgasm. No shit. That's one of the problems that we talk about when we talk about the long-term effects of these,
So where does he want the bonus hole?
I don't know where to go.
Like on his foot, under his foot.
Kelly, can we play the joke that we lined up here? This is my favorite line from Kill Bill 2, but it's applicable right now.
Is that what you're saying? What are you trying to convince me of exactly? That you're as useless as an asshole right here?
Well, I'll tell you, with the advent of modern science, we might be installing assholes here, vaginas here. So bottom line, the guy sues, or at least the Ontario Health Insurance Plan denies coverage. Says, dude, we're not paying for that. Then he takes them to the Administrative Tribunal of Ontario. They say, no, you have to cover it, because otherwise it would be a charter violation to deny this medical service. It goes to the higher courts. The Court of Appeal says, yes, you have to cover it because it's provided for in the schedule of covered procedures, and it would be a charter violation not to. And so not only does public money have to pay for this, it's going to go to Texas, because nobody in Canada does this vaginoplasty without a penectomy, which it's Frankensteinian to me, because from what I understood, when you make a vagina, you use the penis flesh for the portion of the inside.
They fold it.
So the fact that he wants to do this without that, I don't know how it's done. I don't know where it goes. There's only so much room down there. But the shocking part is that the courts came out and said public money has to pay for this. And the reason why this is particularly egregious, what adults want to do with their body, go for it. But why this is not public money funding elective cosmetic surgery is a separate issue. There's a woman that I interviewed named Kayla Pollock, who was rendered a quadriplegic by a certain experimental medication that we are all very familiar with now.
Oh, the weird one?
She was rendered by the Moderna. This is all confirmed by doctors.
I love that we're tippy-toeing because we have...
And she was rendered a quadriplegic, was initially told it's all in her head, was then told, well, okay, now this is it. This is your life. And was offered death, medical assistance in dying, euthanasia in Canada because, it'll be cheaper. We can't cure you. Have you thought about killing yourself? She has to raise money so that she can get a wheelchair accessible vehicle. She has to raise money because the government is not providing for her what she needs to survive her injury. And then meanwhile, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars this vaginoplasty without a penectomy is going to cost that the taxpayers now have to flip the bill for. That goes to Texas, money out of the country. It's wild. It's if we can just bring up the tweet from Kayla Pollock. This is her. Just found out that my muscles are wasting away because my therapy isn't covered by the same Ontario Health Insurance Plan that is going to cover the vaginoplasty without a penectomy. But gender reassignment surgery and counseling is free for them while I have to wait on a list for 3 weeks of therapy after being paralyzed. And
by the you know what.
Wow. And
look at the warning that they put underneath that.
See the latest, you know what?
Come on, I never noticed they do that on Twitter. Oh, well, that makes me a little angry.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
So that's the bottom line madness of Canada. As bad as you thought it was, it's only getting worse exponentially.
David, I can't explain it to all the fans from Canada. I love you guys. I get so many messages on Connect, on Instagram, on X. They're messaging me, and they're like, you have no idea. Talk about this. Talk about that. Expose them. Bro, this all goes to Trudeau. This is all these freaking policies that this guy's putting up, from the truckers to the carbon tax to the what? What?
Oh, and by the way, you want to kill yourself? You want euthanasia? You'll get a doctor faster than you'll get a GP.
Holy crap.
It's atrocious. And I do just want to highlight this. Adults can do whatever the heck they want with their body if they are of sound mind and they know what they're doing. I see people slit their tongues and it looks like
a little lizard.
Dude, it's your body. But taxpayers don't have to pay for this type of stuff.
Yeah, and by the way, just out of curiosity, Rob, I'll go to you first.
Yeah.
Rob,
yeah.
Let's just say you have mental issues and you're like, you know what? I want the bonus hole without the what?
Without the penectomy.
What's the penectomy?
You keep your junk and you get
your junk.
You get a new trunk.
Where do you put it, Rob?
I don't know. I wrote bonus hole. Can't get to see my wife's first or second ones. So, maybe I need the third. Maybe I got to get her to get this surgery. You
can get it yourself, and that way you can do it to yourself.
Or you can put think about it. You could get 2 of them under both of your feet and just hook up with the guys
all day.
But what also drives me nuts is it's Frankensteinian experimental surgery. And oftentimes I interviewed Tulip R. Ritchie, who's a boy, was convinced that he could go for the gender reassignment surgery. And when he woke up from the surgery, and I remember him telling me this when we interviewed, he said he's lying on the table, groggy, having come out of this surgery where they removed his penis and created a neo-vagina. They flash a mirror down there, and he says, it looked like someone, he's a British guy, he says, it looked like someone went at my groin with an axe.
Jesus.
So I've seen...
Did he consent?
I didn't pay for this. Let me start by saying that. I've seen a man-made vagina.
Oh, my God.
In person.
In person?
I worked on the radio in Tampa, Florida, and we had a, I don't want to say hermaphrodite. I believe it was a transgendered individual. It was a man that went to a female. And we were very curious. We're like, well, we'd like to see it. And this is 2013.
This is by surgery, not born with both.
Yes, this was done by surgery. And the person came in. We did a foam party. Have you ever been to a foam party? It's where
I can't breathe. I'm claustrophobic. Foam.
Like sides. So
I hate it.
We wrapped the whole studio in plastic and tarp, and then we had a whole bunch of girls come in bikinis, and then we had to try and guess which one was the transgendered one. And then the girls got naked, and we saw the transgendered person's vagina. And it
high quality operation.
Yes, I know. Rob. Very. That was on the radio.
On par for Tampa.
It was awful to look at. Like in person, you're like, just imagine what you're talking about. Like they call it the axe wound, a hatchet wound. Jeez. It looked like someone had mutilated somebody's genitals, and I can't imagine continuing to live your life with that. Like we talk about, we did an episode with detransitioners on Pat's podcast. The woman was named Luca Hine, and what she talked about, and it really hit home, was that when you make the decision to do an elective surgery like that, when you're 14, 15 years old and you want to go through gender reassignment surgery, the trans community backs you. They support you. We've got your back on this. Go for it. Let's do this. Then you make that transition, and then you go, oh, this doesn't feel right. I want to go back, and they abandon you. And it was so hurtful. Like, she was crying and telling the story of how she'll never be able to have children. They took away her breasts. And then when she's already depressed, she's already sad, and now she wants to go back and be the person she was before, the entire community that embraced her and convinced her to do this operation turned their backs on her, ostracized her, criticized her.
It was faux embrace from the beginning, and I genuinely believe there's a ton of misery loves company. A lot of these people have either they enjoy the abuse, or they enjoy the power, the domination that comes with it, or they regret the decision as well, and they want other people to continue to suffer with them. And the apostates need to be punished the most.
I agree.
You should go and watch, if I'm going to plug anything, go watch The Dark Side of Detransitioning with Patrick Bet-David. It's a podcast from about 6 months ago, but it really tells the story of what these people go through when they try and detransition, and how the LGBTQ trans community ostracizes them and makes them feel like they are the bad guys for just wanting to go back to who they were in the beginning.
And on the genital procedure front, it's just as bad for women who try to become men, because the way they do these phalloplasties, where they create an artificial penis, they essentially strip all the skin and flesh off your forearm.
Oh my God.
Roll it up into a tube and then just stitch it on. Congratulations.
It's the worst thing I've ever seen.
But when you look at...
But there's no nerve endings or anything for that, right?
Yeah.
Like, can you feel?
Not for a neo-vagina either. It doesn't work. That's the thing. These are open wounds they're creating so that you can pretend.
Again,
there's holes down there now.
As
Great.
far as I understand, with the neo-vagina, it's...
What did he say?
I said, why don't they just use a strap-on instead of mutilating themselves?
that's the common thing to do.
That would be what a therapist would say if the therapist was allowed therapizing and it hadn't been criminalized as they've done in Canada. No, it is wild. But also, if we can bring up Kayla Pollock, who's been offered death 3 times unsolicited by the government, has to resort to a give, send, go so that she can raise the money for her life, while this individual gets an elective Frankensteinian experimental surgery paid for at taxpayer dollars in a foreign country.
On the medical procedure front in Canada, wasn't there just a guy who had 2 fingers on his hand chopped off? Did you hear about this?
No.
There was a guy, I forget where in Canada, and I don't know if this was covered by the healthcare plan or not. He has, for his entire life, has felt like he
had too many fingers.
The 4th and 5th finger on his left hand didn't belong to him. This is a real thing. It's called body integrity dysmorphia, where you feel like body parts don't belong to you. You shouldn't have them.
Well, this penis belongs to like a 5-year-old kid. It's so small.
He just had his fingers removed in an elective surgery.
Shut up. It was a Quebec man has 2 fingers amputated to cure body integrity dysphoria.
What is wrong with
There's a blind one
woman
too.
who thought she was thought she was blind.
She poured acid in her eyes.
It's a wild thing where I mean, I don't even want to say what I was thinking.
It's a mental problem, and this goes back to me saying, guys, is crazy as it is and as crazy as you feel, God made you. You are exactly how you were supposed to look. I tell people all the time, too. I mean, unless something's really wrong, cleft lip, and you have to fix it, you're okay. Like the girls that do all this work, I'm like, just leave it au natural. And if you have if you're a boy and you think you're a girl, go talk to someone, not somebody that's like, go for it and chop it off. Talk to people. Look at what was the transition one called? The
dark side of detransitioning.
Dark side of detransitioning. Trust me, in the long run, you're not going to be happy with lopping up all this stuff. I'm telling you.
I think the combination
in Quebec. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so I think the combination of it is like kids, especially, and everybody, they want to feel like important, like they're fighting for something. That combined with the cultural push to do this, I think that's what's putting them over the edge to do. It's like, oh, this is the battle I'm going to fight.
Yeah.
And like it's going to make me unique and important. I know all these people who are doing it. We're fighting the good fight. And then boom.
So dumb.
But when it comes to adults, there's a certain element, like people say they get tattoos because, they like the way it feels, the endorphins, the mark that it leaves behind. There's some element to that as well. Like, I have a big scar on my forearm because I had a phallus created on my thing. What drives me nuts, and I've phrased it in my mind now so I won't say it badly, there are no shortage of Dr. Mengeles out there. Yes. And what pisses me off the most is that you have people, like the cases of most detransitioners, who say, I wasn't of sound mind when I did this. And nobody told me of the long-term consequences of this, that I'm going to have to dilate this neo-vagina for the rest of my life, otherwise it starts sealing up, that you get hair impacted and then when you do it. Nobody told me this. I was not of sound mind, and there's no shortage of these sick doctors who forget abiding by the do no harm as the Hippocratic Oath, love the fact that they get to play God on other humans who are not of sound mind, and they exploit the mentally ill so that they can carry out their Frankensteinian experiments.
This guy in Quebec now, this is basically he's walking around with his left hand. He really needs to be careful because, as you know, guns are illegal in Canada, so can't be flashing this around.
Like, hey, let me think about that. Oh God! Well, all right, guys. Moving on to the last story. Connor, thank you so much. Wait, whose story was that?
That was mine.
Oh, that was Viva's. Viva. I love you. Thank you.
But you're welcome.
Hey, thank you, Connor. I appreciate you. Last story, Rob G, and we're going to end with a feel-good story. Trevor Bauer has won. Victory at last. Talk to us.
Yeah, but if you read the news, you wouldn't be able to tell. This story came out from TMZ yesterday. Trevor Bauer, sexual assault accuser, charged after allegedly defrauding baseball star. One of Trevor Bauer's accusers, Darcy Ezumanu, has been charged with fraudulent schemes and artifices after she allegedly defrauded the former Cy Young winner into paying her for an abortion that he believes never happened. The charge was filed against Darcy in Arizona on Monday, weeks after a Maricopa County grand jury indicted her on the felony count. But if you take a look at the next image, you'll see that nobody reported on this. There is only one news outlet. No, that's the TMZ article. The next story is there's 4 news articles that wrote about this. Now, if you remember when Trevor Bauer was first accused of rape, and it happened back in 2021, there was a woman, Lindsay Hill, accused him of rape. He was immediately pulled from the Los Angeles Dodgers lineup while they investigated. He has since been banished from the Major League Baseball organization. But if you take a look at those news articles, it's TMZ, Fox, Outkick, which is owned by Fox, and KTLA, a news organization in law. The only news outlets that are covering that one of the women who ruined this guy's career, who helped he lost $350 to $400 million in endorsement and career earnings because of this scandal. One of these women is now facing up to 16 years in prison.
Yes.
For lying?
For lying.
Oh, good.
Yeah, is this the feel-good story? Because I'm getting enraged just listening to the facts.
You feel good for Trevor, who might finally be able to come back from Japan now.
But this kind of he's now pitching in Mexico, which is so if he can survive pitching in Mexico, hopefully he can end up
if
coming
he can
back
be
to the United
competitive
States.
against South American baseball players.
That's how good he is.
Yeah, amazing.
By the way, and we'll get into some of his stats, but this country used to love a redemption story, did we not? Think about some of the greatest redemption stories of all time. Robert Downey Jr. was arrested because he was addicted to drugs, ended up breaking into people's homes. This was a guy that had a career in Hollywood, ended up becoming severely addicted to drugs, overcame his addictions, became Iron Man. Steve Jobs founded the company Apple, gets fired from the company Apple, comes back and saves the company Apple by creating the iPhone, iPad, and iPod. And then look at Tiger Woods. He ends up banging a bunch of sluts, ends up costing him his personal and professional career because when his wife found out that he was addicted to Ambien, she chased him with golf clubs, smashed the vehicle up. Real bad scene. He ends up making a comeback in 2019, winning the Masters tournament, one of the greatest sports comebacks in history. Michael Jordan, leaving baseball after his father died, or I'm sorry, leaving basketball for baseball after his father dies, comes back from baseball to basketball, goes on to win championships with the Chicago Bulls. Those were redemption stories. America loved them, and yet nobody's reporting on this. Why is nobody covering the Trevor Bauer's accuser, the woman who he was convicted in the court of public opinion of getting this, first of all, sexually assaulting this woman, which didn't happen, and then getting her pregnant and forcing her to get an abortion, cost him $400 million. He was innocent, but proven guilty in the court of public opinion, and nobody's reporting on
because
this.
believe all women, Rob. That's why nobody's talking about it.
And the fact that they went all in, they're gonna have egg on their face. Like they don't want to come back, retract, go back, and like, hey guys, everything that we did, the lives ruined. This guy, dude, $300 to $400 million. We can't say it because then we're gonna look like shit. Just sweep it under the rug and keep going.
I was raising my hand. I was going to say, teacher, yeah, it's true, because to report on it would expose their complicity in having purveyed the disinformation in the first place. They leave corpses in their wake and they never come back to see how they're doing.
It's crazy, man. This is one of the biggest news in sports right now, and nobody's talking about it. There's no ESPN interview with Trevor Bauer. He's not on First Take or Mike and Mike in the Morning. This guy is a Cy Young Award winner, a two-time Major League Baseball All-Star, a Major League Baseball strikeout leader, and the 2020 Major League Baseball wins leader. And this guy is shooting a Look at this video.
He's in the hotel.
He's in a Days Inn attached to a Denny's in Poughkeepsie. The truckers are banging whores in the parking lot before ordering moons over Miami. And this is what he ends up doing. He has to release this video yesterday because nobody else is reporting on it. Kelly, if you could please play clip
looks like
one.
a Days Inn, too.
It does. And poor guy. But they leave the light on for you.
We had one plain sexual encounter in December of 2020. Nothing that could be considered remotely rough. She initiated it, but don't take my word for it. Take hers. This is a picture and text message she sent me the next morning explaining why she came on to me. And for months afterwards, she repeatedly requested to sleep with me again. For example, this text from January 7th, 2021. At one point, she even requested a sample of my sperm so she could have my child whenever she wanted to in the future.
Oh my God.
Now, it's hard to keep track, but she's made at least 4 7-figure demands over the last few years. More than a year after the one time we slept together, and only after Lindsay Hill made up her false allegations, Adana retained a lawyer. She then demanded $3.6 million and claimed I forced her to have an abortion, leaving her emotionally devastated and irretrievably damaged by it. But here's the thing, she never had an abortion because she was never even pregnant, and that's corroborated by her own medical records. Wow. When I refused to pay her the $3.6 million she was asking for, she made up a bogus sexual assault claim and filed a civil suit against me. In that version of her story, she claimed, for the first time by the way, that there was non-consensual sex, but her texts from the next morning show what actually happened. Remember this text in which she explains why she came on to me? She also claims that instead of an abortion, she actually had a miscarriage, but that's impossible, of course, because again, she was never even pregnant.
I love that this dude comes with receipts.
Yeah.
He has receipts for everything because it's not just Darcy that he has receipts for. If you remember, now here are some of the emails from the attorneys. So this woman claims that she got pregnant, that Trevor Bauer sexually assaulted her, causing that pregnancy, and then she had to go get an abortion, of which he paid her $8,500 to get that abortion. Trevor Bauer, you got to get a friend who tells you, buddy, they don't cost that much.
They're only $1,000, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, not that I would know. But yes, no, but I have friends that have had that procedure done in the past.
Right.
I know that it doesn't cost $8,000. That would have been the first red flag where I'd be like, buddy, no, don't pay that. But this woman couldn't even prove to her own attorneys, because there was no abortion, that she was ever pregnant. So her own attorneys ended up dropping her. This is an email from one of her attorneys. To confirm, without proof of the abortion or even the date of the abortion, we cannot continue to represent you. We urge you to consult with other attorneys who may have different standards.
Wow. That's a freaking hilarious last line. In other words, go find a liar, go find a dishonest attorney who will perpetuate this lie. That's fantastic.
And then she did, because take a look at the next email from the next attorney, who also ended up having to drop her. As your legal counsel, we have all agreed that there's a recording of her shaking down Trevor Bauer for money, is detrimental to your case to the point that we will likely not be able to continue representation of you in this matter. We are requesting a copy of the recording to verify the authenticity. I know this is difficult news, but without the medical records of your abortion and a recording like this is what we feel is insurmountable evidence. Hugs, Amy.
Hugs. What the?
Believe all women. That's what you get. You get a hug.
So here's the thing, though. So why isn't it an equal crime punishment to rape when a girl makes a false allegation like this? Because wouldn't that be a deterrent for girls to not do this?
Well, now there may be. This woman is evil. The first woman, Lindsay Hill, is very evil.
Yeah.
We have photos of some of the different text messages that she said. If you don't remember, this whole story broke when this woman claimed to be a victim, Lindsay Hill. She claimed that Trevor Bauer sexually assaulted her. There were text messages that came out that showed that that was the opposite. Then more women came out with the same accusations. Here's how evil the woman is. Darcy Esmerond, that is currently facing 16 years in prison for fraud charges committed against Trevor Bauer. When Trevor Bauer's legal team went and witnessed a subpoena who was going to testify that Darcy was never pregnant, Darcy then accused the witness of sexual assault as well to try and impede the investigation. Kelly, if you could please play this clip, Trevor Bauer explains.
Okay.
It gets worse. In my lawsuit against her, we subpoenaed a witness whom she knew for relevant documents to use in our case. And when she found out, she immediately made sexual assault claims against him, too. Her MO is clear. Lie to men to get their money, extort them if she must, and when they refuse to pay, stop paying or stop giving her what she wants, go to the police, accuse them of sexual assault, and file a civil suit against them to retaliate.
So now this guy is out $350 million to $408,900 if you include the money for the abortion. The guy's out of a lot of money, and all because of lying accusations. These are the text messages from Lindsay Hill, the very first accuser. She sent this to a friend as she was talking with Trevor Bauer on social media. Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers.
Jesus.
Kelly, if you could show me the next text message as well. And this one, I'm going to his house on Wednesday. Already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. Skank! Next photo, please, Kelly. Net worth is $51 million. This is what she sends to a friend. Friend sends back, bitch, you better secure the bag. And Kelly, if you could show the final video. Need daddy to choke me out. That be the absolute whore that I need to be to try and get in on his $51 million.
Jesus.
This woman is a skank. And guess what? The craziest part of this whole story, that woman ended up getting a $300,000 payout from her insurance company to pay for the legal team that ended up representing her in her case against Trevor Bauer. So the first accuser lies, ends up making $300,000. The second accuser now facing up to 16 years in prison. And there are two other accusers, but here's Trevor Bauer talking about the other two remaining accusers and why they are not credible.
They both had lawyers first demand in excess of $3 million to not go public. In both cases, only after I refused to pay any sum of money did their lawyers make anonymous claims in the media. They both had the opportunity to file a criminal complaint against me. Neither of them did. They both had the opportunity to file a civil suit against me. Neither of them did. They both had the opportunity to participate in Lindsay Hill's civil suit against me. They could have even done so anonymously. They both refused. One of them even submitted a statement to the court stating that she never made public accusations against me. The other refused to participate so vehemently that Lindsay Hill took legal action against her, trying to force her to participate. She still refused. So they both had the opportunity to testify under penalty of perjury. Neither of them did. One can only wonder why. Perhaps it's because all their claims against me are lies.
Why is this man still being blackballed from baseball? Why is he pitching in goddamn Mexico? What is the team he's playing for? He's playing for the Diablos Rojos del Mexico in the Mexican League. This guy is an all-star pitcher. Now he's in Mexico pitching for AAA ball players.
Thanks to Dora the Explorer, I know that means the Red Devils.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and guess what? Those women, they're Red Devils as well for stealing from this man.
Watching this, like every now and again, you say, like, I wish I were young. I wish I was go back and do my youth. I'm happy to be married, and my goodness, keep your schmeckle in your pants unless you know who you're putting your schmeckle in, because this is It's as wild. I mean, I would have had some serious red flags at the I want your sperm to have a baby with you whenever I want.
Yeah.
That's where I would have, had some.
How much you want to bet if he had given into that for, whatever psychotic reason, she then would have impregnated herself to have an abortion to try to prove the point.
Or the baby. The baby's a longer term
that's the
investment.
jackpot.
That'd have been a long term.
That was her backup plan.
And just so you know,
dudes have paid millions.
Trevor Bauer never filed. He never had any criminal charges filed against him. In fact, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office elected not to file criminal charges against Bauer, citing a lack of evidence. And clearly, you can see why. It blows my mind that in this day and age, this guy lost $500 million in earned potential earnings over the course of his career, and one woman ends up making a $300,000 payday, and the other woman, Darcy, may end up facing 16 years behind bars while facing 1 count of fraudulent schemes and artifices and theft by extortion.
Can I ask you a question, Dave, from a legal standpoint? Now that all this has come to light, he's completely innocent. All the money he lost, all the the overreaction from the Dodgers and media, and can he sue?
Well, he certainly could sue her. The question, he could probably, I don't know what his contract said with whoever he pitched for.
He was with the Dodgers.
But they settled. So he and the accuser, he and Lindsay Hill settled.
Well, she's got nothing to pay him anyhow, so that's not where he's going to get any meaningful
probably gave him
compensation.
$25.
No, she's got nothing. It would only cost him to continue to sue her.
Yeah.
Where he would have a better claim is the one who have the deeper pockets, whoever wrongfully or potentially wrongfully terminated his contract. But I don't know the details to that. I mean, I remember this story only from the perspective of this dude got railroaded. Boy, howdy.
So that's my question. My question goes to, okay, he was never charged, nothing ever.
Nope.
Just from a rumor from a girl, and you cancel his contract. I mean, I think that's 100%.
I'm sure he's consulting lawyers. They have these things called morality clauses. Yeah, that's how they got Roseanne Barr. Well, if you act like an asshole or you shame the company through what would otherwise be like subjectively but objectively reprehensible conduct, like Roseanne Barr's offensive racist tweet when she thought the woman was white and Jewish and didn't know she was black. But set that aside. This is a little different just because they're going to say morality clause because you're accused of, alleged to have done this. We did no due diligence and we acted intempestively. I'd say he's got a claim, but
Rob, you better write that one down.
I just think you said believe all women. I wonder if we ever get back to a point where we believe in justice, right? Because this guy, again, convicted in every court of opinion, public, personal, professional. And yet he did nothing wrong. Yeah, he had rough sex with girls who consented to having rough sex with.
But Rob, and that's just another one of these leftist Democrat loser sayings from Black Lives Matter to defund the police to believe all women. None of it works.
And it hurts the women who actually get raped and
That's what I'm trying to say.
It undermines what they're doing.
Yeah,
what's that old expression? Trust but verify. Yeah. Okay, someone comes forward with claims. All right, you have made a claim. Let's investigate and prove that it happened.
No, they don't. It's just that believe all women bullshit. It's like, she came. Women wouldn't lie. Why would she lie?
Said every person who's never met a woman.
No, everyone who should practice law long enough to get the experience, but not to destroy the soul. You practice law for long enough. It's not that you don't trust all women or trust everybody. You trust nobody. I believe nobody.
You
say something, evidence it, substantiate it. When it comes to these claims, you have to back up and say, I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon all that quickly. I would like to see what the evidence is before coming to a hard opinion. But the what's it called with the receptors that you give your feedback receptors on social media? Dopamine. On social media, everyone wants to jump on it, get the clicks, get the likes, get the attention, get the virtue, and that's driving people to make big fat mistakes that you can't remedy.
I love that we ended on this story because it just feels good that I hope to God he gets retribution and stuff. But how many years for these bitches to get that she has to go to prison for 16 years? Any girls that are out there that just happen to hear the story, how many whores out there are gonna be like, oh my God.
Well, there's a whole term for them, jock chasers. That's what they are. They're girls that go around and try and sleep with and get impregnated by athletes.
I see it happens all the time. I know personal people in California that were just that were with people that were like, oh, I have to bang this basketball player and have a baby with him because I'm a lazy bitch.
Have you ever, and I hate to use the term, and part of my language, have you ever heard of the term chuckle fuckers?
Yeah.
They're girls that go around and try and bang famous comedians to get impregnated. Yeah. So this happens in every industry.
That's how you find that off.
Is the average, his baseball career? How many years does he have left to try to recoup some of that lost
He's
salary?
in his mid-30s.
He has maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe.
Yeah, because he was the #1 draft pick in 2011. 2011. Number one
Jeez,
draft pick in
2011 is
2011.
13 years
Yeah,
ago.
he's.
But think about it. He's been on the sidelines for 2 or 3 of those years, not pitching and just resting that
Yeah,
arm.
he's rested the arm, but I mean, he's with the El Diablo, the Rojas.
Rojas, El Diablo Mexico.
Yeah,
Roja.
Yeah, Ro. But guys, amazing show, Rob. I love, dude, the fact that you said, what'd you say about where he was? You were like, he's eating at Denny's.
That was a good rant.
I'm sorry. Days in Poughkeepsie where truckers bang hookers in the Denny's parking
That's because
lot.
I want people to understand
Not that he knows
was
anything about
perfect.
that.
But, David, Connor, guys, I love you to death. Kelly, all the guys. Umberto, Jorge, where's everybody at? Is everybody there?
Andres.
Jeremy, Andres, I love you
Yeah.
guys. Guys, all of our regular subscribers that are here, I love you guys to death. All the new people, if you haven't subscribed already, click on the link right there. They're going to put it somewhere over there. Hit the notification button. There it is. Look at that. Yeah, it's huge. It's but guys, I love you guys. Thank you for supporting the show. You can find all of us on Manek. Connor's on there as well, even though Shane's beautiful face was on there. Kelly, Dave, we have to talk seriously after this. Rob, Brandon, and guys, with all the craziness in the world, don't let it bother you. Love each other. Care for each other. I love you guys, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace and love.